Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. After the last video, I got a lot of messages from people who are very curious about this Fatfire forum. Particularly out of all of them, they were claiming, number one, that this isn't representative of rich people in general, and then number two, probably the most common question I was getting was, wow, how did all these people get so rich? How did all these people make so much money to the point where they're making posts like these? Check these out. $17 million in liquid net worth. How to optimize happiness. They even post things like here. Can send $1,000 to any organization of your choice to verify if people want. So imagine being so rich that you spend $1,000 just to prove yourself right on a Reddit post. It's really quite amazing. This is funny too. Also, if anyone has dating tips or advice, that would be great. Well, this isn't the channel for that. Here's another one. Hi all, I'm a newly minted tech millionaire, 32 years old male, kids, $15 to $20 million net worth, over $1 million in income per year, fleeing the Bay Area. My thought recently is that I could use my money to invest in the community around me and use it as a shortcut to build a network in this new town. Literally buying a community, buying friends, buying a network. It's really interesting how these people live. Here's another one that gives an insight into these rich people's lives. What was the most expensive thing, product, or service you bought during 2021? Then you have posts like this. I bought a night nurse. I'm a single dad. I have an awesome night nurse. Total for the year, $65,000. I bought a $1.3 million oceanfront Hawaiian condo. It's been a steep learning curve running it as a vacation rental business, but the unit itself is incredible. I ordered a Ferrari, but since I won't pay for it until next summer, maybe that doesn't count for this year. I'm also about to spend $80,000 in travel for my honeymoon. 2 weeks in Hawaii at the Four Seasons properties. What's with these people in Hawaii? Anyway, moving forward, it's not uncommon to see posts like this. Even to me, where I am in my life, this is dramatic. Sale of a $50 million family business. What are the options for silent shareholder family members? I mean, literally, these are rich people problems. Most people going through their life will never have problems like these. Here's one that's really interesting. 32 years old male from Germany with a net worth of $50 million moving to the United States. And this is interesting because they break down how they make their money. So they've got $2 million in cash, $45 million in an ETF and bonds and blue chip shares, and no mortgage. This one right here, it says they mostly made their money through inheritance. Looks like shares, a stock portfolio, real estate, and some crypto. You'll even get extremely out of touch posts like this. When $11 million is not enough. Am I holding it wrong? I'm 46, I earn $1 million more per year working for a tech company. I have about $2 million in cash, $1 million in stocks and retirement accounts, and about $4 million in real estate assets, with $800,000 in debt, wife, and 2 kids. Total net worth around $6 million. So the real question is, again, to answer the messages I got, how do these people make money, right? So after scrolling through the Reddit, you see a lot of all kinds of things, right? You see tech entrepreneurs, tech workers, entrepreneurs in general, real estate. But at the end of the day, you can't really figure out how someone makes their money just by their words, right? Actions speak louder than words. So I found a hacky back way door to actually figure out how most of these people made their millions of dollars. And so we're going to find that out right now. We have right here similar subreddits to r/Fatfire, which is literally just the rich people forum, by user overlap. So this site here, it just figures out, because this is all public information, what users are in Fatfire and what other subreddits do they visit. So you can determine by their behavior, not by what they say, not by their words. You can determine by their behavior what their interests are, what they're involved in, and we can kind of figure out how these people are making all this money. So the first one right here is financial independence. And so these people have 113 times more likely compared to the average user to visit this forum. Now, financial independence is very similar to Fatfire in general. It just means that you're financially independent, you're not reliant on others for money, so we can kind of cross that off. That's more or less a false positive. But the second one is really interesting. So the number one out of everything, 86 times more likely than the average user, is real estate investing. So for many people, that probably is the video right here. By far, the number one reason people are Fatfired or have a lot of money seems to be real estate investing. Now, obviously, the trouble with that is in order to make your way in real estate, you really need money in the first place. And this evidence seems to double on the fact that the second place result right here, 29 times more likely than the average user, is real estate as well. So you have a double whammy on real estate. Probably the most time-tested, proven way of building and maintaining wealth in families is real estate. There's very few ways to get around that. Now, I know obviously in 2022, it's increasingly difficult, especially these days, to get into real estate with all the inflation. It does go to show that, again, this is probably, if I had to guess, just based on looking at this information, real estate is the number one way to get into financial independence or to make yourself wealthy. Now, obviously, before I continue down this list, this obviously is not representative of all rich people, right? Because the average person isn't necessarily going to be posting on Reddit. If I had to guess, it's attracting mostly men, some women too, under the age of 40. So by no means is this representative of all rich people, and you're not going to see people like with $100 million on here. It's going to be very, very rare. But the average net worths I'm seeing are anywhere from like $2 million all the way up to $50 million, $60, $80 million. Now, obviously, too, it's not going to include people like me, right? In my circumstance, I've done a lot of things or I've made my way in the world. I won't say fat fired, but I was financially independent by age 26. And what I did is I created a series of like entrepreneur YouTube channels. I think in total the subscribers are adding up close to 2 million subscribers across all the channels. I've had buyout offers for hundreds of thousands of dollars for some of these channels. I've made games. Those have made a lot of money. Obviously, I've done some investing as well. My situation isn't going to be reflected in data like this. Now, also at the same time, too, I think you recognize, and even I recognize as well, that my situation is far from typical. So just keep that in mind as we continue down with this data. Number 4 here is tax, which makes sense because if you're rich, your number one problem is tax and really how to avoid it and minimize it as much as possible. And unfortunately, this one right here, number 5, is entrepreneur, 27 times more likely than the average Reddit user. Entrepreneur can mean a lot of things. I mean, like technically I'm considered an entrepreneur, but like all I do is make YouTube channels and find ways to entrepreneur online, so to speak. This is interesting. This is going to go against my thesis for the video, but you'll see right here, number 6 is theta gang, followed up down here with options. I'm going to be honest, in my experience, and this is probably the point of this video, in my experience, most people don't make their money day trading or like doing like wacky, zany tactics on the stock market, especially with options. That said, you will see a lot of people engaged here in Theta Gang, which is an options subreddit, and also options in general. That said, options investing definitely is a rich person hobby, so to speak. It's definitely more complicated. You need a higher IQ to doing it. Personally, I've never seen anybody make a ton of money in options. Obviously, there are some exceptions like people in hedge funds, but just for your information, that is there. That said, options is not the same as r/day trading, which is a real subreddit. Again, the point of this video I wanted to emphasize is while it is true that some of these guys make money in options, a lot of these people aren't making it in day trading or all these like supposed techniques you see online. The point of this video is that by looking at the rich people, we need to look at which methods produce the most millionaires, right? And frankly, just day trading or getting involved in these penny stocks, microcaps, is not how most people become rich, and that's why I don't advocate those strategies on this channel. Now, I think a lot of you guys are really, really interested in probably 2 things, right? So what cryptos are they in? Are they in crypto in general? And are they in gold and silver? So the first one, just going through, frankly, most rich people, at least on Reddit, scrolling through here, they're not really into gold or silver. And as for crypto, they do have crypto on here, but you look right here, the first crypto you see on this list for subreddits they're involved in is Ethereum finance. You don't see Bitcoin here, it's Ethereum, which is interesting. So it seems that rich people overall seem to prefer Ethereum to all other cryptocurrencies. That said, now you will see down here, this is a subreddit Buttcoin, which I was on there probably like a decade ago. I don't know what they're up to now, but at least a decade ago, they were anti-Bitcoin. Obviously, they were proven wrong over the last 10 years. If I had to guess, this is still an anti-crypto investing subreddit. Obviously, you have a Tesla Investors Club. That's done well for a lot of people, but that's definitely survivorship bias, right? Because Tesla has made people rich, but I don't think necessarily it's Tesla investing that can make you rich. It just was something that happened. It happened to produce a lot of rich people, but it's not a time-tested or necessarily common strategy to becoming rich. Now, this is the stuff where you get into professions and careers. We have here Bay Area CS career questions, right? And so a lot of these people you'll hear, they're really just tech workers. They're people making a lot of money in the tech boom, and that makes sense. They're living in the Bay Area. They're involved in computer science. And so you can kind of get an idea if you want a high income, right? It does seem to be that you want to live in one of these tech areas and get a tech job. That does seem to be producing the most millionaires on here. Electric vehicles is probably just a hobby they have, right? So they like to spend their money on electric vehicles. It's not necessarily they became rich because of electric vehicles, nor is it that they became rich because they live in the Bay Area, just that the Bay Area has jobs. Now, this does go against what I said before, right? So there is day trading on here. It's not exactly the highest one, especially compared to real estate, which is, again, 113 times the average Reddit user's activity. You do see day trading on here. I do think, again, this is similar to what I said before. Day trading is a hobby of rich people. It's not necessarily how they made their money in the first place. And if you look at this video by Tech Lead, he's one of these guys. He's rich. He's done really well in computer science. It didn't really work out well for him. He lost a lot of money. And that's my opinion on day trading in general. I think a lot of rich people get into day trading, but I don't think day trading necessarily produces rich people. Again, I've never met somebody who's made millions of dollars just from day trading alone. All the odds are stacked against you. You don't even necessarily have to look at all the studies, especially if you don't believe studies. Just use your intuition on this one. Again, the only other crypto you're seeing here is Ethereum. So again, it seems that rich people overwhelmingly seem to prefer Ethereum out of all the possible cryptocurrencies. Then after that, you just get down to things like, skiing and all their, it's funny, Bumble's on here. So it is funny that a lot of these subreddits are hobbies. And you can kind of see the stuff they're into. And I will say one of the things I've noticed is that a lot of these rich people are so out of touch. Most of them are actually posting, complaining about their dating situations, how they can't find anybody to be with them. So it is funny that Bumble's on here and that of all the dating apps, I guess if you guys care, right? I don't know if there are any women watching this, but if you want to get a rich guy, apparently they're all on Bumble, which is interesting. Flying is definitely a rich person's hobby. So finally, we do get down here to Bitcoin, but it's only 6 times more likely compared to the average Reddit users. I mean, like, apparently they're more likely to live in Orange County and Nova and Maryland here. And again, looking at this again, they're doing solo travel because they're not traveling with partners. I guess that's why they're on Bumble. So once again, I'm going to scroll through all these. We're getting increasingly less relevant data. This is most of their hobbies. So a lot of you guys will, again, rightfully say, well, this is Reddit. This isn't how most people make their money. And once again, I agree. This is not how I made my money. This is not how I became financially independent, retired at like age 25, 26. So I decided to get some more higher scale objective data. So here we are in the Forbes 400 richest people in America. Now that said, I do still think that most of these people on this list, compared to the Reddit people, is probably something that's more out of your reach. I do think that these Reddit people, what they're doing is probably more reasonable for the type of person watching this video. But again, this is a good macro level look at how people make their money. And once again, what the point of this video, you're not going to see people day trading on here. And we're actually going to see how people have made their money in different areas and different sectors of the economy and what kind of entrepreneurship tends to produce the most billionaires. So let's get started. So as much as I love Farmland, there's actually only 2 people on the Forbes 400 list for America. There's only 2 people in agriculture. So as much as I love the farmland investing these days, it is true that it's only produced 2 out of the 400 on the Forbes 400 richest people. And that's Harry Stein you see right here. He apparently made his money licensing corn and soybean genetics to Monsanto. And there's also a California wine operator here, which makes sense. They're probably just old money. Naturally, too, the number one guy is Jeff Bezos, but that's really an exercise in entrepreneurship. If you are good at getting people together, building a team, building an organization, you will make a lot of money in the United States. I do think one of the most important skills in making a lot of money is building an organization, is, corralling people and getting them to work in your organization, which is something I don't necessarily do very well, which explains why I'm not on the Forbes 400 list. But yeah, it's a very extroverted list. So we are finally down here to cryptocurrency, which is a relatively recent thing. And you will see that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people out of 400 who've made their money in cryptocurrency. Now here's the thing. If I had to guess, these people did not make their money in cryptocurrency betting on random coins like lottery tickets. And to find out, we're going to take a look. So here is Sam Bankman-Fried, who has a net worth of $22 billion. And it looks like he made an exchange for crypto and has a research trading firm. Brian Armstrong at $11 billion. Of course, he's a chief executive of Coinbase, another exchange, right? So how interesting. So we do have somebody who created a successful cryptocurrency. So we have the founder of Ripple here, which is interesting because Ripple's future is uncertain. Naturally, we have Cameron and Tyler Winklevoss. Once again, they founded a cryptocurrency exchange. And to their credit, they were early investors in Bitcoin. We have Jed McCaleb at a $3 billion net worth. Looks like he was a pioneer in the blockchain space and just launched some crypto firms. If I had to guess, these are research firms. Then finally is Fred here with a $3 billion net worth, and he founded Coinbase in the exchanges. So most people who are making the most money in crypto seem to be in the exchanges. Notice you don't see anybody in mining or trading. It's all people who've created the exchanges or built organizations. Now this is really interesting and actually seems to validate what I'm doing. By far, the most common on here on this list outside of real estate is hedge funds and investing. So we're at the hedge funds category, which isn't necessarily all the finance related people, but finance seems to be the number one biggest creator of billionaires on this list. I'll just click on random. There's Jim Simmons, $24 billion net worth, Renaissance Technology. That is one of the most famous trading firms of all time, really. I mean, their performance is incredible. Naturally, we got Ray Dalio. So you can make a lot of money on hedge funds, which kind of makes sense because with how this economy is structured, yeah, it does make sense that you'd want to be on Wall Street. And finance just seem to be the best way to make money if you already have money. If you look at these people and how they run their firms, a lot of them aren't doing like quantitative, like micro day trading about like signals and charting patterns. A lot of this is capital management. So that is something to consider. Similar to hedge funds, you see a lot of people here have made their money in money management. So you got Fidelity Investments, Franklin Templeton, that's similar to Fidelity. A lot of people do make their money in that. There is a good amount of old money here in oil. So you'll see, for example, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 people out of 400 on this list who have made their money in oil. You can even count this category in here with Richard Kinder, for example, in pipelines. He's got $7 billion and looks like he was doing Kinder Morgan, U.S. energy infrastructure firm. So you can make money, obviously, in pipelines, though that has been trending down since 2015. There's an additional 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people you can add to previous oil billionaires on the Forbes 400 list. But private equity is how a lot of people make a lot of money, which is essentially angel investing, right? So the people who invested in Facebook early and stuff like that. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 out of 400 who have made their money in private equity. And so we'll just take a random sample here. Here's Robert F. Smith with $6 billion. It looks like he focused on investing in software companies. And by the way, if you're interested in private equity, there is a stock you can buy for that. It's called Coty, and they do private equity investments if you want to get exposure to that. That said, private equity is a pretty hard game to get into. You need to know people. You need to get into that world and network, and then you will be invited into private equity firms. And also people will tell you it's a dog-eat-dog world out there. Like 95% of these startups do lose a lot of money, but the ones that win, they win big. Here's another one, for example, Barry Sternlicht. He runs Sternwood Capital. We have private equity and real estate. And if you go through this list, you'll see a lot of stuff. And this is obviously all linked in the description. They've made their money in all kinds of different private equity. But this does go to show, by the way, that private equity has produced more billionaires than the hedge funds and investors we're seeing on here. Then finally, this is what I want to get to because I think this validates mostly about what I'm talking about. Probably the two best ways to make money is investing, and then finally here, real estate. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. 23 out of 400 made their money primarily through real estate. Now, obviously, there are other people who have gotten involved in real estate generally, but just purely from real estate, it has produced 23 out of the 400 billionaires. And for example, on here, I don't even see Donald Trump because he fell off that list recently. But there are even more people who have made their money on real estate. And this does seem to confirm what I said before from the subreddit, that real estate investing seems to be producing the most of the millionaires. And by the way, it's producing the majority of these billionaires. Now, obviously, there are a lot of software and technology people on here. That's undeniable as well. So looking through all these finally, it does seem to be that there are some legacy, obviously, industries on here that have produced billionaires. But most of the new billionaires, the people who are making money, the new blood, it seems to be the majority of them are in things like hedge funds, venture capital, investing, real estate, and technology. That does seem to be where most people are making their money these days. All right, that's all for this video. I am curious with you guys, who you know who's made a lot of money and how did they make it, right? So I want to see all the possible methods that people have done to make millions, if not billions of dollars. But it is interesting to see. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.